What was it like to be out there, 11-on-11 stuff, sort of a real practice for the first time this season?
I don't know if it was a deadline. That's probably the first day that I would have been concerned. So that was the first day I would have noticed something being affected if it wasn't done. But I don't think that was actually the deadline for everyone. Just that's usually when stuff matters once it passes that day. So that does help things, I think, get done. And just getting out there was great. I mean, we've been here for a couple weeks. We've been out on the field doing some walkthroughs and stuff, but being able to go out there and go full speed finally was great. We got one more day of that without pads, and then we'll be past all those restrictions.
One of the question marks this offseason, given that you had two guys who played really well at the will linebacker spot, was who was going to be the starter, Quan or Dre this year. It seemed like Quan was getting the bulk of the work, at least there today. Can you sort of comment on that? I don't know if it is an issue or not, or does Quan have that job from last season?
Yes, I mean, everyone's job, and we compete all the time. So, I mean, no one just has a job set in stone, but I don't see that as open competition right now. I mean, we brought Quan here for a reason, did exactly what we wanted when he was out there, and did even more than we anticipated from a leadership standpoint. I mean, Quan's been great here. That's not to take anything away from Dre. He had a hell of a rookie year. The more he got his opportunities, the better he got. But we got a few good guys there, and, we see that as Quan's job right now.
Hey, Kyle, just wondering your early impressions of Brandon Aiyuk and how is he just coming along learning the offense?
Today was the first full-speed practice, and I thought he did a pretty good job today. We'll see when we go watch the film. But I've been real impressed with him just being around him. He was very impressive on the Zoom meetings, just his attention to detail. But since we've gotten here, just going through these walkthroughs and stuff, you can tell. I mean, he knows how to practice like a pro. You can tell he comes prepared every day. He's not a guy you've had to teach how to act or teach how important it is to learn this stuff. You can tell he understood that before he got here, and since we've been around him, you could tell he's been working, and that's why he's further ahead, I think, than a lot of rookies would be at this time.
Kyle, also on that receiving core, you've got Trent Taylor back. Jalen Hurd was out there for a little bit. Just what does it mean to have Trent back, and how is he looking along with Jalen from what you saw earlier?
I mean, they both went through a lot of stuff last year and missed the whole year. Trent's been battling with that for a couple years, so I was just really happy for him that he's overcome a lot. All the infections that he did get and having to do that surgery. I know how tough last year was for him, and before that happened, how high of a level he was playing at. So just to get him back out there is a huge deal. I mean, it looks like the same guy. I know how hard he's worked, and I know how excited he is. He's not a guy you want to go up to and baby right now or ask him how his foot's feeling. He'll be very irritated with that question. He's ready to move on. He's ready to play some football, and that's the guy I see out there. And Jalen's been very similar. He came back and he put a lot of time in here. The only guys that were allowed to come up here and be allowed in the building during the quarantine and everything were guys who had injuries and stuff. So him being around our training staff, being around Dustin Perry, our strength coach, he's put in a lot of work to get to where he is right now, to come back from that back injury. And I thought he had a great first 10 days, and we are trying to be smart with him and ease him in, just did individual today and stuff, but hopefully that'll pick up as we go.
Hey, Kyle, this is Chris Biederman. Apologies if you started off the presser. I was having some technical issues. What's your level of concern for Eric Armstead, and do you have a potential time frame on when he can get back out there?
No, I want to say he's day-to-day, even though I probably didn't hear that, but I think that could tell you my level of concern. I'm not too worried about it. Just has some back stiffness, which happens to a lot of people, especially with guys his size. So, he could be out there if we really needed to right now, but we're trying to be smart. So just me guessing right now, I bet we'll probably be smart these first 4 days and then try to get him in the next block of practices.
Hey, Cal, I know that you were eager to see Jerick McKinnon get on the field each of the past two seasons, but finally seeing him out there on the practice field again and the way he's moving, how do you evaluate him?
I think, very similar to how I talked about Trent. Jet's even been through more, and he hasn't been able to get on the field since he's been here as a Niner. So I think everyone knows how hard that's been for him, just emotionally and mentally. But what he's done too this offseason, I think he spent most of his time in Houston, think he spent a lot of time with Trent Williams down there. I think Deebo was down there a little bit. But those guys grinded, all right? They worked very hard. Jet's always been as hard of a worker as there is. He came in as prepared as anyone could be. My only worry about Jet is sometimes he might overdo it because that's how hard he works. The good thing for Jet is, we've been through this twice with him, and when he came back last year with it, trying to get him back, and he'd get out there and try to work through it, you could tell it just didn't heal right. And then he had to go through all that stuff again. It's still first day, the first step, but you can tell that it healed right. And you can tell Jet's put that work in, and you feel all this that he's gone through in the last 2 years. I feel he's finally in a position where he has a chance to have this comeback now, and everyone's pulling for him. As good of a guy as there is on our team, and he had a real good first day of practice.
Hey, Kyle, it's David Lombardi. Obviously, over the past several years, throughout your whole career, I think blocking from receivers has been very important in your system. What can it add when you have guys with bigger bodies out there? You talk about Jalen Hurd, Jawan Jennings. Can that add another dimension to what you like to do with receivers blocking for the run game?
I think it can, because you can entertain the idea of putting them on some different matchups. I mean, they actually you get to some of the guys you mentioned and their size, it actually would be possible for them to block a linebacker or at times go through a defensive end with the help of a tackle or something like that. So it does give you different options, but it always starts with blocking strong safeties or blocking the 4 secondary guys. And we've had big guys who can do that, but being big doesn't always make you great at that. I mean, those guys are trying to fit up in certain ways, and you got to have some intelligence to yourself too. You got to get in the right positions, the right technique, know whether running an outside run, an inside run, a gap run. There's a lot of different ways to do it, and we have had a lot of success with smaller guys who are willing to do it. Even though they don't have to be just dominating guys, they need to get in the way so corners crack replace and things like that. But when you do think of some of these dudes you mentioned who are bigger, it does give you a few different options.
Hey, Kyle, Nick Bosa came back and saying he was a lot healthier this season as opposed to last year. It looks like he was disrupting the offensive line a little bit today. What have you seen from him?
I mean, not much more than usual because he always disrupts the offensive line. I wouldn't have thought that right away, but I guess with him saying that, early in practice last year, I think he was coming off from some things from Ohio State. Then he had, I think it was a high ankle sprain early in practice last year, and so we had to shut him down pretty fast. And Nick is obsessed with preparing to play football, so I know he does that all year around, every single day. So he came prepared to play football just like he did, but having a healthier offseason, I bet, not having to rehab as much. Anytime guys spend the year before rehabbing, they all work just as hard, but you don't get to focus on other areas. It's all about getting healthy instead of getting as good as you can. So him just going into this offseason healthy makes sense that you say that.
Hey, Kyle, it's Tracy. A lot of the guys we've talked to have talked about Javon Kinlaw and said that he really doesn't seem like a rookie just in terms of his preparation and where he is. Can you speak to that a little bit, please?
We haven't been around each other a ton, so we all get here, and, everyone's going to look at the first-round picks first. So, Kinlaw and Aiyuk are probably the guys the players are watching more, trying to judge how they are. And these guys came in working their tails off. So we haven't been here that long, so I'm not just going to say it's a finished product. We got to keep doing that and keep working. But both of those guys have come in, fallen right in line. It really helps. How the rest of our team is. We didn't get as many team meetings when we started, and we go out to walkthrough and everything, and to not have to address a lot of people on how hard we go. And the rookies kind of just fall in line because they watch everyone else doing it. So if you come in slacking around, you look pretty out of place. Usually a lot of the players are going to get to you before even a coach has to. And when you have a guy like Kinlaw and Aiyuk who come in, and the players are probably expecting to tell them, hey, you got to turn it on a little bit. This isn't college. When you don't have to tell guys like that, it is impressive. They are working right away, so they do seem like a pro. But today was the first practice. We got a long way to go. The key will be keeping that up.
Kyle, what can you expect from the 2 veteran wide receivers you came in? Why did you bring them in, and what do you hope that they can contribute?
First, it was awesome to bring in 2 guys like JJ and Tavon. 2 guys who are NFL players who have done things in this league, and 2 guys we've always liked. I mean, I like both of them coming out of college, and we've liked them in all their stops. So, but also, when you have 9 receivers, well, we have 11, but 2 of them are on PUP with Richie and Deebo. So the fact that they aren't out there able to practice leaves you with 9. Any receivers are always going to have tweaks, so they can't do it every day. So very quickly we can get down to 7. And if you have 7 receivers at a practice, you're in trouble. You always try to have 11. That's always the goal. I think last year we had 10 in camp. So we needed to get some more guys in just for legs, but the fact that we got 2 guys in who have the ability to make our roster, who could have roles on this team with both of their skill assets, made me very excited to get them. We didn't know if we were going to get 1 or 2, but the way they looked in workouts yesterday, they were both in shape, looked like they had previous places they've been in their career, and that's what excites me the most is we needed the numbers to help guys, but we also added 2 guys who are capable of beating people out on this roster and capable of earning a spot, and plus the whole thing with this year of having an option where you can have a veteran on practice squad, and who knows how that'll work out. But I mean, if we want guys like that to where it could be an option. Travis was an option like that, who also had a good chance to make the team, but he would have been a veteran there who could have made that spot. And we're bringing in 2 guys just like that now that they're going to push people to make this team, or hopefully they can show they can be a part to help us at some time.
Kyle, following up on that a little bit, you mentioned Deebo. Do you have any updated expectations on when he could be ready or a time frame at all?
I mean, the way I kind of see it in my mind, I think we're hoping for week 1, not counting on it. But I think that's kind of the area that these injuries usually heal by. But a lot of it has to do, are you ready to play? Is it fully healed by that time? Are you in football shape? Which Deebo's going to do everything he can to be in shape, but it's hard to be in football shape until you can play football. So how many practices do we get him in here before Arizona? So that's going to all go into play, but I'm hoping for week 1, but not sure yet. It's a little too early.
Jimmy Garoppolo's knee brace has gotten a lot of attention in last week or so. He seemed to be wearing it today. What's the thinking?
Oh,
the philosophy on the brace?
If you need it, wear it is my philosophy. I think it's funny. I didn't know there was a lot of talk about his knee brace. The reason I know about it is because Bob told me he didn't wear one, or I got updated by Bob before I came in here, so I know that he wore one today because Bob told me he did, and I know he didn't wear one in walkthrough because Bob told me he didn't because Juice said it. So I think that shows my philosophy on it. That's not much of my concern. If he was coming right off his ACL, I'd probably be like, why aren't you wearing one? But players, after they get through it, that's up to a player. Some guys feel it can hurt him more. Some people think it helps. But I'm not going to pretend that I know that. That's his body, that's his knee, and everyone's different.
Kyle, Jordan Reed, he was involved in 11 on 11s. Is that just a precautionary measure, and he was involved in catching some passes?
Sorry, you went out, but I think I got an idea of what you're saying. Hope you're not driving right now, too, by the way. See you in your car.
I'm not.
No, we were being smart with Jordan. Very similar to Hurd. Jordan hasn't been here very long. We do know his history, and he just hasn't been here as long as the other guys. So we eased him in today, routes on air, did all the individual work, but we didn't want him going against anyone yet. We'll reassess that each day, and we'll get him in there when we're comfortable with it.
Kyle, I know it's just one practice, but what are your expectations for Jimmy Garoppolo just in terms of the way he's progressing, running the offense right now? And do you expect him to be more vocal, take on more of a leadership role now that he is more comfortable, or where are you on all those things?
I expect Jimmy to be himself. So you don't ever come in and say, hey, you learned 2 more plays, so now you yell more. I think Jimmy had a great grasp of the offense last year. I think he'll have the same one this year. Hopefully more experience and going through it more. You learn from your situations, and that usually makes you better. So that's where I hope he just continues to get better in that aspect. And I know my goal and as a coach is to make him the best he possibly can be. And that's what our standard is for coaches. So we're really never satisfied. So we're always just trying to get guys better.
All right, last one.
Kyle, a video surfaced yesterday, or recently anyway, of Trent Williams appearing to drive 125 miles an hour on the freeway. Is that something that you inserted yourself into, and what are your concerns about that, and what did you address with Trent?
I haven't addressed it with him yet. I didn't really find out about it till I prepared to come in here. But But definitely, I mean, I think my concerns about that would be the same as anyone else who understands what can happen when you drive that fast. Puts everyone out there in risk and puts yourself at risk. So I'll ask Trent about it. I've been told that he said it was his brother, not him. I'll ask Trent for myself and find out. But regardless of it, that's nothing anyone should do on this planet unless you're in a NASCAR race.
All right. Thanks.
All right, guys, thanks.
Well, howdy. How we doing? I can't hear anybody.
Hey, George.
Oh, hey,
George,
there you are. Right
Congrats on the new deal. I know it's always been important for you to kind of advance the position of your position of tight ends and improve deals and things like that. How meaningful is it for you to be not only the highest paid tight end, but also kind of move the ball forward for the position as a whole?
I think it's a step in the right direction. I think overall, tight ends are occasionally forgot about or, not advertised enough. And I think the fact that, guys are exploding through the ceiling that was set. With me, Travis Kelce had a fantastic new deal. I know Ertz is about to get one. And the guys that are just blowing through that, it's fun to see. And, I think, tight ends will just continue to prove that, we're worth a lot to the team. And I'm just thankful that the Niners organization, believed in me and gave me that opportunity.
Hey, George, what was the importance or the priority you put on making sure this thing or hoping this thing got done before you guys stepped out on the practice field?
That was a big part of it. Just wanted to get it done, have some security, now I can go onto a football field and, not have any worries about anything. I don't have to worry about getting injured. I don't have to worry about anything. I can just go out there and focus on football, which is, I have the best job in the world. I get paid to play football, and I know now I'm taken care of, and my family's taken care of, and now I can just focus on that. I don't have to worry about money. I don't have to worry about anything else. I can just go out there and play football and run through someone's face, and I'm really excited about that.
Hey, George, congratulations. I know, I guess shortly after you guys reported to training camp, Kyle and John said it was nice to be able to talk to you, I guess, in person and get an idea of where you were at. That seemed to, give them more confidence about a deal being struck. Can you just talk about those conversations? And were you guys able to get on the same page if there was some sort of disconnect?
No, I think we were both on the same page. It was a good, healthy conversation. I haven't really talked to Kyle about anything or John in person. That's what my agent's for. But just so us three, knew what each other was exactly thinking. That was a big part of it. But, we were on the same page, and like they said, it was a healthy step in the right direction, and then ultimately we got it done.
Hey, George,
Hey.
how did you end up breaking the news to your family and particularly your dad? I know you typically don't love to share details of the specific conversations you have with him, but what was that moment like after you agreed to terms with that deal with your father and given the relationship that you guys have?
It was pretty incredible. Actually, my dad flew out about a week ago. He's been quarantining down in South Texas, and he came up. And just being able to share that moment with him, my wife, who's out here for training camp as well, it was amazing. And just all the hard work, just the years and years of playing football with my dad as my coach, and the goal is always to play football in the NFL, and I've achieved that goal, and now I'm paid for it, which is pretty incredible. And honestly, I haven't wrapped my head around it yet. But it's a sigh of relief, and now I can just go play football and focus on that. And I think just that the fact that I got to do that, with my dad and my wife right next to me it's pretty special.
Hey, George, how important was it for you? We've seen this kind of happen for other people in the past, but how important was it for you at the start of training camp to make sure you're here on the field with your teammates in the locker room?
I had confidence in, the fact that we would get a deal done. And so being a captain and just being, what I think is the leader of the team, I just want to, set the right example. And I want to be here with the guys. I want to go through the workouts. I want to set the standard for my rookie tight ends. I got young tight ends in my room. I'm the oldest guy besides Jordan Reed, and, he's new here too. And so I just want to make sure guys know that, hey, this is the level that we play at. This is the level that we're expected to play at. There's not really any excuses. And so when you can set that standard, I think our young guys learned a lot in the last 2 weeks, and just the steps that they've made has been pretty fun to see. And, now I can just actually step on a football field and strap it up, and I'm really looking forward to that. We got pads in 2 days, so that'll be really fun.
George, you mentioned Jordan Reed. I know that you haven't seen a lot of him so far, but what are your early observations on how he moves, how he looks, and how him being on the team might affect you, maybe in terms of snap count, anything like that?
Honestly, when I get a new tight end, I think the first thing I look at is just how he fits in the room. With just our tight end, I think he did a great job right away of he fit in right away. And it was really fun to see was how he talked to everybody in our room. He's very coachable from Coach Imbo, which is awesome. He makes good points. He's a very good teacher in there because, I think I've said multiple times, Coach Shanahan said he was the best route running tight end he's ever had. And so I've watched a lot of Jordan Reed tape, and the fact that I get to share a room with him now is amazing. And I'm not really concerned about reps and stuff. I'm more concerned about winning games. And with him on the field, I think we can win a lot more games. And, we won 13 last year, so that's saying a lot. And I'm really excited just to be able to, learn from him, and then maybe I can teach him some things as well. And I think just bouncing it off each other, we got Ross Dwelly, we got Charlie, we got Chase. Like, we have a deep tight end room. It's just really fun to see. And, Jordan Reed has done such a great job already just being here. And it's really fun to watch him move because he moves a little bit different than most tight ends. And it's fun to see that, that skill and that technique.
Hey, George.
Hi.
Congratulations. Hi. First of all, explain your T-shirt.
This? That's one of
Yes.
those things I just get in the mail. It's one of those things I get in the mail. And I just keep it in my locker for a good occasion. I haven't seen you guys in a while, even though most of you DM me once in a while. But, I just wanted to put a good shirt on for you guys.
And then also, coming in today, it's a huge day for you, but also it seemed like you were operating like it was just another day at training camp. Talk about the mentality.
Oh, yeah. I think the mentality today was, take a step forward. And I think these last 2 weeks we've done such a good job of, our walkthroughs, our tempo. I think we got better, from a learning standpoint, too. The young guys are figuring out, the feel of it, the understanding of our offense and our defense. I think it was actually really fun today to see, the rookies were like, wow, it's a lot faster. And I was like, well, we're not in pads yet, and we're playing each other still. So it gets a lot faster. But, I'm just excited to be back on a football field again, competing against my teammates. And, like I said, we had a great team last year, and I think we have a chance to be really, really good again this year. And so just being able to get these reps now, against really good players is going to be really fun.
Hey, George, it's Cam. How much time were you able to spend with Jimmy throwing in the off season? Was it just the session in Nashville? Was there some out here? And then just how is it just now? How did it feel on the field today with him?
I got a couple times with Jimmy. Not as much as I'd always want, but it's all right. The good thing about Jimmy is his arm's always loose and he's always ready to throw. I got the whole offseason with CJ down in Tennessee, which was really fun. So, I get to keep my offense, and CJ's always there for me. But the thing with Jimmy is, like I said, he's always ready to go. He got such a quick release, and he gets football. And so, we really didn't miss much today. We had a couple good connections today, and he was throwing the rock really well all over the field. And it's just fun to see that. And I know, every day we get to go out there and compete is another day that Jimmy's going to get better. And, every day that Jimmy gets better, we get better. So I'm really looking forward to just competing every single day with him.
Hey,
It's weird
George,
not seeing you guys out here. I don't know who to call on. Cheese is standing right here. He doesn't know who to call on. It's crazy. Sorry, what's up?
Hey, George, it's David.
Hi, Dave.
I saw the video that you posted on your Instagram going back to your childhood. First of all, I wanted to know who put that video together. And second of all, I just was wondering what your reaction when you first saw that video, because I felt it really brought the whole arc together was.
Oh, just one of my close friends did that for me and my family. It was actually a surprise. My wife and my parents, my sister, they set that whole thing up. They've been doing it for I want to say 1 or 2 months now. But I saw it for the first time yesterday, and it was crazy. It was very emotional. I think I'm very blessed and I'm very privileged. The fact that I get unconditional love from my family every single day, the support that I get, and that just kind of motivates me to be the best football player I can be, because the rest of my life is pretty amazing, and I should be able to make this as amazing, because this is all I have to focus on. And like I said, I'm just blessed that I have people that care for me like that, and we're able to make a video like that, and that'll be really fun to look back on in 3 or 4 years, 5 years, 10 years, and just be able to see that.
Last one. Hey, George, what's been the reaction overall from your teammates, the support that you've received from them, and then also I think one of your first catches today, it looked like Fred Warner might have put you on the ground a little bit. Any words there with him after that play?
Oh, hey, Fred's just excited. He's happy to be back on the field. He's the voice, he's the heartbeat of that defense, and just he likes to compete. And I gave him some crap back for that, but it's no worries. I got to get the bruises eventually, and I'm pretty sure they punched for the ball in that play like 4 times, and I just got hit in the forearms and the biceps, so I'm gonna have bruises everywhere. First day, it'll be really fun. But other than that, like I said, we're just really excited to be out there, and I think this is gonna be a really fun camp. It was a great practice today, and I'm just looking forward to playing more.
All right.
Thank you, George. We'll have John Lynch here for you guys in just a minute.
See you guys. Thank you. How's everyone
John, how you
doing?
doing?
Hey, Matt.
Just wondering with George's contract, the amount that he brings to the team, the importance he has to the team, and kind of the level that tight ends have been paid through the years. What was your philosophy in, breaking out of that mold a little bit, but also kind of recognizing what the comps were for that position?
Yeah, I think that's what made it so challenging. I think I had an interesting perspective personally because I played a position that had lagged behind in terms of getting paid, and I felt like the position and the nature of the position had changed. At one point, I became the high water mark at safety for about 24 hours before Brian Dawkins did. But, you also kind of feel a responsibility to the game, to the other players at your position. And so, I knew we were dealing with some interesting dynamics there, and I knew as a result it would be a challenge. And there never was a challenge in terms of the like-mindedness, the the shared motivation to get it done. It was just finding where is that spot, because typically these things kind of fall right into place. Here we had to kind of create that, and therein lied the challenge. And I just want to thank first of all George and his family for their patience throughout it. I obviously want to thank the York family for making it all possible. And Jack Becta did a tremendous job. It wasn't an easy negotiation, but everyone stayed positive and resolute through the whole thing that we were going to find a way to get it done, and we did that, and that makes everyone happy.
John, can you share kind of when a breakthrough occurred? Because it just seemed from everything people were hearing, it was kind of like nothing was imminent. I don't know, broadly or specifically, can you share maybe what pushed the ball forward finally?
Love your shirt, by the way. That's my team. Listen, in terms of a breakthrough, I think there were a lot of breakthroughs throughout the process. In the last couple weeks, we felt like we were drawing nearer.
Jack did a great job of fighting for his client, and I think he knew he had some time. In terms of deadlines, there really wasn't one on this because, George was under contract for this year. But, I think everybody felt maybe not a need, but a want to get this done before we stepped on there with helmets, 11 on 11 and all that. And so I felt confident that we were making progress throughout, and really felt like in the last 2 weeks, really, that any day could have been the day. And we had movement on the day it eventually got agreed to. And so I guess that would be the breakthrough, but there were a bunch of breakthroughs throughout the process.
George just spoke to us about how excited he is that Jordan Reed is, in the tight ends room with him, on the field with him. How much of that addition was about George and, you have such a huge investment in him now, about sort of longevity for him and perhaps lightening his load a little bit, for this season coming up?
Well, we've talked about that, Matt. We've talked about, having a complement to George. First of all, schematically, I think it's, because of the nature of that position and the different ways in which you can use them with our staff, how creatively they use the tight end. I think it's just an advantage for us. And anytime you get a player in the ilk of a Jordan Reed and you can come to an agreement and feel like, health-wise, it's worth the, I guess the inherent risk involved. It was a good decision for us, also to protect George. But George is going to play, and he's going to play a lot of football. He doesn't like coming off the field, and it's hard to take him off the field because he is so complete. But it doesn't just stop with Jordan Reed. I mean, I think another year, the development of Ross Dwelley, who really showed us what a valuable football player he is to this team, drafting Charlie Warner, who we really have a great vision for as a staff. I think now we have some compliments. We feel much better about that position, and that's a really good feeling.
Hey, John, I know you just got this one done, but obviously you got a lot of guys who are due up after this year, and Fred Warner's coming soon. I'm just curious, how much does having some cost certainty with George help you in that regard, and how do you kind of go about prioritizing what comes next?
Yeah, well, I think we're going to exhale a little before we think about anyone else. But, it's a great issue to have when you got a lot of players worthy of being paid. That's a good thing. We're doing our jobs right. And, I think, you used the word cost certainty. That was another element of challenge throughout this thing in the midst of a pandemic. Really not knowing without an agreement between the owners and the PA exactly where the cap numbers were going to fall. We still don't know that, but we got a better idea, and that helped us craft this deal, frankly. So now I think we go back to the drawing board and start prioritizing and looking at, when people are coming due, and just like we always do, looking three years out, looking 2 years out. And so thinking about the present and always thinking about the future.
Hey, John, this is Chris Biederman. You just mentioned maybe having a little bit better of an idea of what the salary cap situation next year could look like. Are you optimistic that that a TV deal could get done and there might be more revenue, that you might not be at that $175 million floor next year?
I wouldn't say optimistic. I'm hopeful, I think, I've talked to a lot of different people as to that point, is if there is a new TV deal, does it kick in right away, or is that down the line? I think there's new media rights and such that might kick in right away. So I think, we do know that 175 is the floor, and hopefully it's higher than that. But I think we have to start preparing for the worst case scenario that 175 is the number, and that's exactly what we've done.
Hey, John, it's Cam. What does Jimmy Garoppolo and George Kittle, how do they work so well together that you see, and going forward, how that relationship can grow?
Well, they're both extremely hard workers, Cam. They're both extremely talented and gifted. But that's when you have a chance to to be special as a player when your work ethic kind of matches with the prerequisite that you're a talented guy. And I think they both love the game. Jimmy brings a little bit of a linebacker approach to the position, and I think George brings a little bit of a linebacker approach to the tight end position. And so I think they kind of see eye to eye on how the game should be played. I think as your shared experiences grow, you continue to grow. But they seemingly, much like Jimmy had early his first year with Trent Taylor, just kind of intuitively know what each other's thinking, and that's a great advantage for us. And I think they're both really good players, and we're fortunate to have them.
Hey, John, it's Jennifer. Can you detail what that linebacker mentality would be for a quarterback and a tight end?
Well, I used to play quarterback, all the way through my junior year of college. I switched over, and I just think innately, I think a lot about Jimmy. I think early on, we talked a lot about just what a good teammate he is, and I think quarterbacks oftentimes, because there's so much demanded of that position, they don't get to be as much of one of the guys, and their job is different. So much is asked of them, and so it's hard for them to connect as well as other positions. But Jimmy kind of just innately gets that. That's who he is, and I think a lot of that goes to his family, but a lot of it, he loves every part of the game, the physical part of the game even, and I think George, obviously, you watch him play. And he probably wouldn't like me saying it's a linebacker mentality, but that's kind of how I think as a defensive player. And I love the way he plays the game. You can tell, one of the most, I battled against him hard during my career, but Brett Favre was the guy I probably respected most because he had so much damn fun playing the game. And you're in an intense moment, and you look over and he's doing the YMCA in the huddle or something while you're at Green Bay. And George is very reminiscent to me of that. In the midst of intense and tough and tight situations, you just see an exuberance with him that's special. I think that's contagious. And when you're like that, you better be a really good player. We're very fortunate that he is. He's a great player.
Hi, John. It's David. I had one more about the negotiations. When the cap is uncertain and you look forward to 2021, 2022, was it possible to move some of the cap hit back to a time when you think that the cap might be higher in the future? And was that something that might have caused this to take a little bit longer as far as negotiations went?
That's where I think we're most thankful that Jack Becta and the Kittles kind of approached this as a partner of ours. Look, they were going to get what they deserved, but there was a spirit of, hey, can you work with us? In particular in 21, we needed their assistance in making the because of that worst case scenario, the cap hit something that we could take on, and they were great. Parag and his group, Brian Hampton, are so bright, and so working through these things with them, and Jack was great working with us to the point where his client, it's certainly not a backloaded contract. It's but there's some creative things that were done within the contract to make it such that it behooves everybody. George wants to win championships, and he knew there was an element to that as well, and so he didn't give in on anything, but he did work with us to make it good for everybody. And that's what I feel great about this deal, because I really truly, that's what you want in a deal, especially with a player of this magnitude that means so much to your team for so many reasons. You want it to be a win-win, and you want him and his family and everybody on their side to come out feeling like, this was a win for us, but I think also a win for the other side. And I believe that's how everybody feels on this deal.
Hey, John, in these unique times, how much have you guys looked about just kind of thinking outside the box, especially with some of the younger players, and not only have them cross-train at different positions, but cross-train on different sides of the ball. Is that something that you guys have looked into as you guys get closer to the regular season on how you might be able to compensate for some of the, the possibilities that could crop up? And if so, which players would you consider prime candidates for that?
Well, I guess we were just talking. Kittle and Garoppolo could play linebacker. No, I'm just joking. We have not done that, but we have. I mean, we're challenging ourselves, and it's kind of like the Wild West, Matt. There's been we have a new 16-person practice squad with 6 veterans, and so we've challenged everybody in the building. Hey, we want you to come up with ideas. And there's no wrong answers. We're looking for the best. How do you comprise a practice squad for all the possibilities that could happen during these times? And that's where you can gain an edge. And fortunately, we have a really a great bunch of individuals, both in the coaching staff and in the personnel staff, that are incredibly bright, who take a lot of pride in what they do, and from their perspective are coming up with great ideas on how we best do that, and then we put them all together, and we'll come up with a really good plan. But that's ongoing, thinking of creative ideas, preparing for worst-case scenarios, more than anything, trying to mitigate risk, and our staff, our players have done a tremendous job of doing that. Frankly, our setup here, sharing our practice field with our stadium allows us to have more space, and so but it still took a lot of hard work, but that's what's most important. But yes, you have to be creative. We haven't gone so far. I don't think we're cross-training one offense and defense, but that's a fun idea to think of who may be capable of doing it.
That's all I had.
Hey, John, Jake Hutchinson. With that worst case scenario and the cap potentially dropping significantly, and the reality that veterans might have to get cut with expensive contracts, do you think there might be an increased premium on draft picks in the coming years?
Oh, there's no doubt about it. We always put a premium on draft picks, but the other side of that, Jake, is the inherent challenges with college football and a lot of conferences being likely not happening this year. How you take that into effect. So I think there'll be more challenges to scouting players than ever before. But at the same point, I think for a team like ours, who's up there against the cap and was budgeting at $220 million on a cap for next year, we're going to have to be creative. We're going to have to really be great in the draft, and that's where the continuity between our coaching staff and our personnel and our process, I think, will really come in handy. I think we've improved at our draft process each and every year. We've got a lot of continuity, a lot of familiarity, and that will be needed this year. And yes, the draft will be incredibly important.
Hey, John, I think the last time we spoke, you hinted that a new GM deal was imminent, and it appears that was right. But is everything official now? Is everything done with that?
Yeah, it is, Matt. I signed. I think I signed 2 weeks ago. Jed and I. Sorry, I got a bug up here. Shook hands, signed the deal, and Bob let me know prior to coming in here that apparently we haven't announced that. And I think a lot of that, that's not what's been on my mind. The approaching season, George's deal, as I told you, I felt like that could happen. This is a players' league. It's about the players. I'm incredibly grateful to the York family that they saw fit, during these times with the amount of time I had left on my deal to extend my contract out. And Kyle and I are. We're having a blast doing this. I think we're making great progress, and so I'm incredibly grateful to the York family. A handshake and a signed contract's good enough for me, but I guess at some point we should probably release something. So that's the answer there.
All right, we got one more with Chris Biederman.
Hey, John. Just curious. There are a bunch of tents now on the practice field. I assume those are all for weightlifting. And do you know about how many are out there and how players are are responding to using them instead of the normal weightlifting setup?
Yeah, it's Venice Beach North. You know, we love it, and you know, great thought process by Ben Peterson, Dustin Perry, Dustin Little, that whole group, our health and performance staff. You know, there's as part of these COVID protocols, there's, you know, how many players can you fit in our weight room per square feet? That's how they're operating here. And so you had to be, it forced you to be creative. And they came up with a great idea. Again, very thankful to the York family for allowing us to use every resource available to us. And I think the numbers were, had we stayed inside, I think we could have trained 15 players at one time. With the tents, we can train 45 players at a time. And the way we like to do it, and still distance them correctly, and still not compromise the workout. And so, you know, there's you know, the ingenuity of our staff coming in hand, and our players have been you know, really bought in the approach. I think they actually like being outside. Probably wouldn't have been the answer the last 2 days as it's been up towards 100 degrees, but it's, you know, I love that kind of thinking, and it's benefiting us. It's not just for show. There's a tangible benefit from that, and job well done by that staff for coming up with that idea. All right, thank you guys.